Right now, India's undertaking something huge, one of the most ambitious educational reboots on the entire planet. It's a fundamental change in how millions of kids are going to learn, think, and be tested. So let's dive in and figure out what this massive reboot is all about. You know that feeling, right? You cram for a big exam, you memorize all the dates, formulas, whatever, and then poof, it's all gone a week later. It's a pressure most of us know pretty well. The pressure to remember, not actually to understand. Well, that is the exact system that India is now trying to leave in the dust. So for a long, long time, the Indian education system has been built around this one idea: rote learning. Look, it had its place, it served a purpose in a totally different era. But let's be honest, it's just not cutting it for the 21st century. The whole deal was pretty straightforward. You memorize a ton of stuff from a textbook, you spit it back out on these super high-stakes exams, and your entire success is boiled down to a number. And, a lot of people are arguing that this model, it just doesn't build the skills you actually need out in the real world, like problem solving or creativity. So what's the alternative? Well, the answer is the centerpiece of India's big national education policy of 2020. It's a whole new approach called competency-based education, or CBE for short. Okay, so here's the absolute key. It's all about shifting the focus from what you know to what you can do with what you know. It's not enough to just remember something. It's about being able to apply it, to analyze it, to actually create something with it. Yeah, this slide really breaks it down. On the left, you've got the old way. Everybody learns at the same speed, all focused on just memorizing and recalling facts. But then you look over on the right, and that's the new vision. It's way more dynamic, right? It's all about mastering real-world skills, testing your critical thinking, and hey, it even allows for a more personal learning pace. And listen, this isn't just some theory cooked up in a university. This quote from the head of the CBSE, that's one of India's biggest school boards, it shows you this is a serious top-down strategy. The goal is crystal clear: get students ready for the modern world. Okay, so you've got this huge vision, but how do you actually make it happen? You need some serious machinery to get it off the ground. And this isn't just a policy sitting on a shelf, it's a real plan in motion. Let's take a look at how they're actually building this thing. So the whole thing kicked off in 2020 with the National Education Policy. A year later, in 2021, they formed this really important international partnership to design the new framework. And then, just in 2023, they launched a national body called PARAC to make sure these new standards are rolled out consistently everywhere. And that partnership was absolutely foundational. This CBSE, they teamed up with the British Council and some other experts from the UK to really dig in and design a competency-based system that was tailor-made for India. So you're getting the best of both worlds, global standards, mixed with local needs. And PARAC, this is the real game changer. Think of it like a national standard setter. Its whole job is to guide all of India's different school boards, not just CBSE, and get them all to shift their exams towards these 21st century skills. This is huge for creating a level of quality and consistency that just wasn't there before. I mean, if you really want to grasp how massive this is, just look at that number, 20 million. The initial phase of this project alone was aiming to reach 20 million students across 25,000 schools. We are talking about a transformation on a truly epic national scale. Okay, so all this theory sounds great, right? But what does it actually mean for a student sitting in an exam? Like, what do the questions actually look like? How are they different? Okay, check this out. Here's a classic question from the old system. It's a pure memory test. What is the gravitational pull on the moon as compared to Earth, right? There's one correct answer. You either memorized it from the book or you didn't. But now, look at the new way of asking. The question isn't asking you to just spit back a fact. It's asking you to apply a concept. You're standing on the moon holding a pen, and you let it go. What will happen to the pen? To answer that, you have to actually understand gravity, not just define it. And that right there perfectly shows the shift from just recalling to actually reasoning. So what this all means is that these new kinds of questions are built to test a completely different skill set. Can you apply what you've learned? Can you think critically? Can you solve a problem? Do you have real, deep conceptual clarity, or did you just memorize some facts? Now, obviously, a change this massive isn't going to happen overnight, and it's definitely not without its challenges. So it's really important to look at both the hurdles they're facing and, the incredible sense of hope that's out there. So if you ask educators what the biggest roadblock is, one thing comes up again and again:
Teacher training. A whopping 40% said that's the number one challenge. It makes sense, right? Teachers need a whole new set of skills to teach and test in this new way. After that, you've got worries about having the right infrastructure and just how hard it is to create these new kinds of test questions.
And there's a really important warning here that came from an education official. The big fear is that if this new system is pushed through too fast or without laying the proper groundwork, it could just turn into, well, another system for students to game, a new set of rules to memorize. And that would defeat the whole purpose, wouldn't it? But even with all those very real challenges, the optimism is just undeniable. A survey shows that a huge majority, 70% of educators, feel positive about this shift to CBE. There's a real belief that this has the power to truly transform Indian education for the better. So it all comes down to this one big question, doesn't it? India is basically betting its future on this massive educational reboot. The whole goal is to move past simple memorization and raise a generation of critical thinkers and problem solvers. But will this historic shift actually create innovators? Or will it just become another new system to master? I mean, the future of millions and millions of students really hangs on that answer.